Episode 3 of Volume 7 is the first one that didn't put me to sleep. I think I can chalk that up to the ASOS being a lot more charismatic and likable than our actual protagonist. Not that I think I'm saying much. What with RWBY being one of the most blank slate protagonists of all time, it makes Natil Dragon look like he has depth. And John's hair being probably the worst thing I've seen in the series since Cinder's Volume 2 rooftop run, I'm genuinely debating. But this episode overall was really boring for a period of time. It started good because actually getting into the thing and, it was presented well. It was fun at the start. But then it slowly derailed into a boring slog, with the only saving grace being the occasional interaction with the Aesops, who I will admit are much better than I expected. I also want to thank whoever came up with the fishing rod weapon, because you're clearly into RWBY's sillier side. Now yeah, I guess I'll address why I was bored. It's because nothing happens in the middle of the episode. It's just walking and grim fights. No, grim fights do not entertain me because grim are ridiculously weak. It's less like watching a fight and more like watching a Saitama battle without the hype and comedy. All the new weapons disappoint me in ways that I didn't think possible. RWBY doesn't outfit her Crescent Rose to be a Worf size like we once saw in the Red trailer, which was amazing. I mean, at least have the ability to change between them. She just has it spin around. And given how adept she is at spinning normally, this seems like a completely pointless addition. Ren's new grabby spikes are not silly in a fun way, but just completely pointless outside of extremely specific situations that I'm sure will come up in the volume and never have been in the previous volumes. John's new sheath placement is trash. Yes, I get that his sheath becomes a shield, but why not outfit yourself with a normal sheath that doesn't do the shield thing, and a heater shield normally? Because there are too many problems with this setup to count. Just get a normal sheath and keep Krakia Morse as a shield until you need to bulk it out impractically. At the very least, don't put your sword in that sheath, put your sword in your regular sheath and keep Krakia Morse on your arm in normal form and then just have it turn into the shield when you need it. And Ember Celica's new thing, I feel nothing about actually. Also, did I mention John's new hair makes me want to pee on myself? Also, I hate Blake's hair too, but that's more because I prefer long hair. But I have to admit, the Aesops were pretty great. It feels like the only purpose of the Glory Hole Grim was to show off the character's new weaponry, when they could have easily done that with the Big Geist, more on that later. And with Team RWBY, it felt pretty meaningless. There wasn't a single moment that made me go, holy shit, that's so cool! In fact, when they first dive-bombed out of the plane, I was wondering, what bloody idiot thought that was smart? Just use a parachute. At least pretend like there's a limit to how much ammo they have or how much aura they can use before they need to get plot-induced nerfing. And RWBY shouldn't be complaining about the cold when they didn't even get proper winter gear. Like, why? Why not adhere to the aesthetic and give them proper gear to deal with the cold? Oh wow, their aura protects them? Well, that's a pretty dumb excuse because that means they're draining their aura constantly to keep themselves from freezing to death instead of wearing proper insulating clothing that they can take off when they need to fight. You might think, well, what's the point in that? Because when they need to fight, they're going to have to drain their aura to stop from freezing to death by getting rid of their clothes. Well, if they're in their fight, they're going to need to use aura anyway. It's just dumb. Why do it like this? Because these outfits might make some horny fanboys do an Evangelion hospital scene? It's bad reasoning. It's bad. And the Geist. Look, this sequence was pretty great. Because there was this thing RWBY hasn't heard of, newly implemented actually. It just came into play a couple of years ago. It's called teamwork. Something even the crew at RWBY don't seem to understand, what with all the animation errors. It was a well-animated, very fun, very enjoyable scene. I'm only saying well-animated because I enjoyed it so much that I didn't notice any animation errors, and that is where animation errors don't bother me, when I'm enjoying something enough and getting into it enough that it doesn't pull me out of the experience. But why didn't RWBY just silver eye the Geist? Why? Like, if they question it, she could just say it's part of her semblance or something, or maybe look like it was Weiss doing it with their glyphs, if they want to keep up the lying. Not that I agree with their lying, it makes them look like giant goddamn hypocrites, and I absolutely despise the fact that Yang doesn't immediately protest against her sister doing it, because it makes her character look so much worse than she did prior. I know I've been quite negative in this review, but it really is a damn good improvement over the last 2 episodes. The Aesops bring some much needed likability and charisma, actual foils to the characters that can lead to interactions that aren't dreadfully boring, forced, and or predictable. And the fight with the Geist was actually fun and made me smile, and given the new COPA regulations coming about in January, the making me smile thing is getting harder and harder. Then again, my mother just bought me a Figma Guts, so I might be a bit more willing to smile now than I was a few moments ago, but that's not important. Oh, and this guy's quirk? Fuck. Semblance being good luck makes the whole Crow semblance being passive isn't a retcon because it's a unique semblance into real question. Also, did I mention John's bloody hair?